Ladies and gentlemen, this is the moment that you have all been waiting for. Just how crazy are Virginia Democrats? We're going to find out in the first ever March Badness. We have broken this down. ROVA, rest of Virginia, versus NOVA, Northern Virginia, a small part of the state that punches above its weight when it comes to bad ideas, and House versus Senate, a conflict that has been unresolved for these many hundreds of years. And what we're going to do is start out with an analysis of Bracket 1, House ROVA, that is House Democrat bills from the rest of Virginia. I am joined, as always, by my esteemed former Senate companion, but then I got smart and went to the House, Senator Bill Stanley, from the offices of the Stanley Law Group in downtown Moneta, Virginia. Do you really want me to read this whole thing that says, have you been injured in an accident? No, I'm not doing it. Look, if you've been injured in an accident, it's no fault of your own. Call the Tom Garrett Law Firm or Stanley Law, whatever. In any event, that's not why we're here. Bill, let's jump right into this. I'm going to do the House brackets. You're going to do the Senate brackets. We're going to take some color along the way. We're going to have some agreements, some disagreements, but we're going to figure out what bills are coming up. So here's the first. 1 versus 16. This really illustrates the strength of the field. Paid sick leave versus the sleep tax. That's House Bill 5 by Amy Lawfer. 86 by Amy Lawfer, charging you $30 to buy a mattress because we might have to get rid of it later. Versus House Bill 5, paid sick leave. That sounds great, right? And this is the difference in the philosophical peeling back of the onion done by people who actually think. Paid sick leave would essentially say that we're going to create a new FICA-style tax. We're going to split that between the employer and the employee. And once you've worked somewhere for 30 days, you can take 12 weeks sick leave because, you hit a squirrel on the way to work and you just need some time to sort it out. There's really no guardrails on this. Essentially, you work somewhere 30 days and the citizens of the Commonwealth pay for your 12 weeks of vacation or hit reset, do it all over again. So it's an entitlement. My favorite line ever from the sitcom Friends is,
"Who's FICA? Why is he getting all my money?"
Virginia Democrats, not to be outdone, give us House Bill 5, but wow. House Bill 86, a Stanley steamer in our original analysis bill. Strong bill. They're going to charge you $30 every time you buy a mattress because one day we might need to get rid of it. This really illustrates the strength of the field from top to bottom. We had hundreds of bills. We had to whittle down to 64. The sleep tax comes in as a 16 seed, tells you just how bad these bills are. Senator Stanley, I'm going to take paid sick leave. That's going to be 12% out of people's wallets. It's going to destroy jobs. But wow, what a good matchup in the first round, 16 versus 1. Your thoughts?
I'm telling you right now, Tom, I got to disagree with you. I'm thinking this is going to be the upset on the order of VCU versus UNC in the March Madness. March Badness, first upset. I'm calling it right now. 16 seeds going to beat number 1. We're talking about the Democrats taxing sleep. They tax fun. They tax sleep. They propose 52 taxes this year. When they're talking about affordability, this takes the cake. It's symbolic. It's strong. I think Lawfer comes strong in the paint. It's got a lot of high elbows here. I'm gonna call this upset 16 beats 1 in the first round.
Well, and you may have something there, Senator Stanley, because paid sick leave is something that people like, right? It looks good on its face. But if you look at this bill from one end of the bench to the other, the impacts of the bill are going to be so egregious on the individual taxpayer and the job creator. I don't know. But look, you're calling the first ever 16-1 upset. Maybe you're onto something. We shall see. The next is the 8-9 game. Again, what a deep field of bad ideas. You've got absentee ballots, and I think essentially, to summarize, we should be to count those until we know exactly how many votes we need to create in order to win elections that are close. Versus firearm storage, the 8 seed. Firearm storage says, hey, the schools are going to be responsible for telling your kids how you need to store your firearms. Your kids are going to tell you. And if little Johnny didn't get to stay out past curfew, he's going to report you to the police because, mom's firearm was on the bedside table. I'm oversimplifying, but really bad. I think that there are so many bad gun bills, and given that you, the viewer, are going to get to vote on these, I think firearm storage sneaks in, but you know what? The sanctity of our vote's a big deal now, too. What do you think, Senator Stanley?
Tom, we agreed on a lot when you're serving in the Senate. We haven't agreed on much since you got to the House, and I'm going to disagree with you again on this one, the 8-9 matchup here. I'm telling you, I understand firearms storage. I understand little Johnny's going to want to be able to stay up late, and he's going to turn his mom and dad in when they don't store their firearm in accordance with the law. The law already now will require biometrics, so you've got to have a safe where you either have a fingerprint or a face recognition. It's ridiculous. It's going to be a lot of expense for a lot of families, millions of people throughout the Commonwealth of Virginia. But I'm going with the absentee ballots too, because what they're doing here is this is the final piece in their puzzle to rig our elections, to make them unfair, and to keep counting votes way after Election Day. You remember we used to have Election Day on Tuesday, election day. Now they've got absentee voting, permanent absentee ballots. They've got early voting. Now this bill right here extends the deadline for receipt of an absentee ballot to 5 p.m. on the third day after the election. Actually, no, I'm wrong. This is even worse. House Bill 773 extends the deadline for curing errors or omissions in absentee ballots from the third day after the election to the Monday after election. So we have an election Tuesday. We might not even know who the winner is until the following Monday. When you slow down the game, you're able to rig it. This one's going to win. Absentee ballots, HB 773 Thornton, number 9 beats number 8.
I want to just accentuate how strong the field is, Senator Stanley, as we move to the 512. Social health plans, folks, we don't want to make this go too long. You can figure that one out for yourself. You got that as a 5 seed versus, as a 12 seed versus SWAM, small woman and minority owned businesses. Now, what they've done here, the Democrats, is they've carved out a spot for their donor base. So if you're bidding on a government contract over $100,000, that is, you're a rich liberal white guy, you're not impacted by this. But if you're a small business white guy, you might look like someone who discriminated against someone who might look like someone who owns the business that the state wants to give preferential treatment to. So let's say that you bid on a state contract and you come in at $50,000 on a state contract. And then there's someone who is either female or minority, and they bid on that same state contract, and they come in at $53,999. Well, under the SWAM bill, the better bid, the winning bid, is the bid that costs the taxpayers $4,000 more, because they look different than you do. So I don't think it survives equal protection scrutiny if it ever gets to that level in the courts, kind of like the Asian students successfully suing Harvard for their race-based entry. I think that one wins. I think when people wrap their brain around the fact that our government is literally in the business of discriminating against people based on what they look like, but they do have a carve out for rich old white liberals on the big contracts, that one wins. That's a 5 seed. That's a strong 5 seed. Senator Stanley, do we have a point to agree on for a change?
Tom, I was thinking about it, and you made a good argument. But I got to go with the social health plans, HB 257. You got a real veteran in there with Shelley Simons. And what they're doing is basically making transgenderism and everything a part of a health plan. Now, when you have a health plan like that, it's going to shoot up your premiums, whether you're going to be accessing those social health plans or not. Going to cost Virginians. I'm telling you right now, the 12 seed is going to beat the SWAM bill. But you're right. The SWAM bill is god-awful. But I'm telling you right now, social justice is creeping into everything, whether it's trees and now health plans. This is where they're going, and they won't stop till they get there.
They won't stop until they get enough, and enough is apparently all. And that's where we're going to go on the 413 matchup. On the 413 matchup, you have landlord prosecution, essentially who the heck wants to rent property to anyone anymore. You can't kick somebody out for failing to pay rent. They get to stay for free for months and months, if not years on end. Now here, we're creating essentially the ability to punish landlords criminally if a burden's met. And I understand that conceptually it may seem good, but what it really does is drive up housing costs by driving anyone who might be crazy enough to be a landlord out of the system. That's your 4 seed versus prison visitation. Yeah, there's a riot at the Red Onion prison, but you're going down to see Pookie, and by gosh, you're going to get let in. The 2 strong seeds, I don't know. I mean, the prison visitation, I can understand the concept, but I think it ignores the reality of the world in which we live. If you make me pick, I'll go with the high seed yet again, the landlord prosecution. I don't know why we're taking law-abiding citizens and making them criminals, but that seems to be a theme here in March Badness. Yourself, Senator Stanley, where do you land on this one?
Look, I got to agree with you, at least in part. Landlords are now the bad guys that wear the black hats. The tenants that don't pay their rent and mess up the apartment, burn it down, they should be given a second chance because maybe they had a bad childhood. But I'm telling you right now, prison visitation, the extent of this bill, HB 173, Anthony's bill, a little younger player in this game, but I'm telling you right now, prison visitation. So you got a guy that's a violent felon, maybe shot somebody up, maybe killed somebody, malicious wounding, might be doing 30, 40 years. What they're allowing now is more intimate visitation, hand-holding, not between 3 inches of glass. We're talking about actual connections between the visitor and the inmate. You know what can happen there. Contraband can be brought in. What's next? Conjugal visits? I'm going with 13 over 4, another upset in the Stanley Steamers, HB 173.
There's a lot of bad all packed into some small packages, folks. That's going to take us to the bottom half of the House rest of Virginia bad ideas in March Badness 2026. This is an interesting one. House Bill 6 is a wolf in sheep's clothing. That's your 3 seed. It may come out of here. I don't know who comes in and votes, but this is the right to contraception versus education for illegal immigrants. A strong entry as a 14 seed. The education for illegal immigrants just says you're going to educate people who are here in our public schools. The Constitution of Virginia kind of says that. And I know that that's objectionable, but I guess the alternative is to not educate them. It's frankly a federal problem. We need to control our southern border. Right to contraception, the 3 seed here sounds good, right? Should you not have the right to contraception? But what this is doing is making the Catholic Church pay for the abortion pill for the person who works there. It's making employers who have a establishment clause objection do things against which their faith-based leanings might direct them, and that's really draconian and scary. The other thing here is with House Bill 6, what the Democrats describe as contraception, apparently, delivering the baby at term and then murdering it is now masquerading as contraception. So I think if the pro-life movement gets into March Badness as much as I hope they will, right to contraception is a strong 3 seed. The education for illegal immigrants makes you cringe because of what was done under the previous administration to open our borders. But I think the 3 seed walks out here. Senator Stanley, your take on this 3-14 matchup in House ROVA bracket?
We finally agree on something, Tom. It took a while, but we're here. I got to go with the number 3 as well. If you look at the bill itself, HB 6 establishes the right to obtain contraception and sterilization. No age limit or parental consent required to obtain contraceptive devices or for sterilization. A healthcare provider can sterilize a 13-year-old without parental consent or knowledge with no legal recourse against that healthcare provider. This legislation also includes, let's not forget, the morning after pill. So I've got to go with you on this one. 3rd seed beats 14. Illegal education for illegal immigrants. They've been pushing this for a while. They want to change the SOL to put it in their native language. It's such a bad bill. We even misspelled illegal immigrants. So there you go. But I'm still going with the number 6.
Right. I mean, the graphic is doing that to make a point, and I think it's a point made. Let's go down to the 6-11 intriguing matchup. You've got the popular vote compact, which essentially says whoever wins the national popular vote is going to get all of Virginia's electoral votes. It's patently stupid, but I mean, I guess the good news is that Trump would have gotten, Virginia's 13 electoral votes. That Trump would have gotten Virginia's 13 electoral votes last cycle. It's patently stupid. I don't think the Democrats are going to like this idea in another 5 years. But what they've done is sort of play games with apportionment at our borders because we're counting people in the census that gets more members of Congress, which translates into electoral votes in places like Chicago and LA and New York. But there's an outflight from those cities, and hopefully we'll see a little bit more monitoring of who actually gets into the country. And then you go to the speed cameras. Golly, Ned, Senator Stanley, your confrontation clause, the idea that you're guilty until proven innocent instead of innocent until proven guilty, the ability to question your accuser, all these things out the window, just a money grab by the state government, handed down to the local government. Look, we're going to put a lot of unfunded mandates on you, but you can throw out some traffic cameras. With county alone from a work zone camera, knocking down $500,000 a month in revenue without giving the people who are charged, I would argue, due process. I like the speed cameras coming out of this one over the popular vote coming out of this one over the speed cameras just because it's so egregiously stupid. But this is one that I'm going to pick as an upset special and say that the speed cameras win. People do not like burden shifting. They do not like, guilty until proven innocent. And it's a tough one. It's a tight 6-11 matchup. I'm going with the 11, the speed cameras. Senator Stanley.
Hard to deny and to quibble with your reasoning here. If you think about this is what I call the Constitution Schmonstitution bracket. We're dealing with 2 very important constitutional issues. First one, our founding fathers put together the Electoral College for a reason, so that one large state, at the time it was Virginia, could not dictate who was going to be president of the United States. As soon as Orange Man Bad comes in there, everything the Orange Man Bad touches, then quite frankly, they want to change it around. They don't believe in the Constitution. Who are these founding fathers? Old guys. They don't have anything to do with anything now. They want to turn this into a popular vote compact. I got to tell you, it just smacks. It smacks as unconstitutional. I think this compact where we have to join other states like California is ridiculous because what we're doing is we're handing over our votes to larger areas like Los Angeles, California, and New York City, and we're not preserving the smaller states' rights to participate in the presidential election and determine its outcome. But I got to agree with you. Here we agree again. Speed cameras, HB 684, Cliff Hayes, a wily veteran right there as well. But this is highly unconstitutional. It takes your picture. It takes a picture of your car. Who's driving your car? Who cares? You just pay the bill, because at the bottom they said this will not go on your traffic record. So what you're doing is you're paying a private company to split it with our localities. And it's unconstitutional. It's an invasion of privacy. It violates the Constitution in every way. And if we revert to this, we're doomed. So I'm going with you. I'm going with number 11, speed cameras, to beat popular vote compact.
I'll tell you what, you talk about the patron Cliff Hayes, super nice guy, which makes him dangerous. You don't see him coming. He's smiling when he's telling you exactly how much he cares. But he's leaving out the part about completely violating your constitutional rights. That's an upset that we agree on, the 11 over the 6. Let's go to the 7-10 game. Board appointments versus ranked choice voting. Look, the board appointments were down in the weeds a little bit. What this is doing is allowing Governor Spanberg to gut some of the appointments that Governor Youngkin made. It's also extending the term of the people who she appoints, so that if a Republican governor succeeds Governor Spanberger, that, she's going to have a voice echoing on boards of visitors, et cetera, for longer. It's bad. But I'll tell you how that gets the 7 seed over ranked choice voting. I don't know. I got to pick the 10 seeds ranked choice voting. The entire Democrat Party is a rage-fueled apparatus that's a mile wide and an inch deep as it relates to actual understanding of issues. They will vilify everyone. They vilify Senator Stanley and myself because we're pretty good at what we do. And so what they do is they vilify someone on the fringes. The casual voter, tragically, that's a real thing, says, well, I heard bad stuff about Stanley, and he comes in last on the ranked choice voting. You end up losing your conservative candidate in a multi-candidate field. I think ranked choice voting wins. So that's going to be another upset, the 10 over the 7. I don't even think that one's going to be close. I think ranked choice voting will beat the board appointments provision, as bad as it is, like a rented mule. Senator Stanley, you have some thoughts on that.
These picks are so bad. This seat is so bad. This bracket is so bad that my TV didn't even want to show it. So what we got to do is and it's back. But I'm telling you right now, ranked choice voting. Tom Garrett, I own a race team. If you finish second in a race, you're the first loser. But at ranked choice voting, you could be called senator. Basically, what they're saying is, hey man, it's not winner takes all. It's not 50+1. If you don't like the first pick, we'll go to the second pick. If you don't like the second pick, we'll go to the third pick. You rank them, and now you're voting multiple times for multiple candidates. It's ridiculous, but it's the Democrat way of, again, rigging elections, making sure that the person who gets the most votes may not be the winner. How can you like that? So I'm telling you, that's a problem. But the board appointments is really a sleeping tiger, because what you're having now is Abigail Spanberger is going to be able to appoint board members to our colleges and universities. And quite frankly, they'll be there until you and I retire. This is a toss-up, but I'm going to go with board appointments beating ranked choice voting, even though both stink to high heaven.
So you get to ranked choice voting and popular voting before we do the 215, which is an intriguing matchup. I'm going to go as an aside. Senator Stanley, 5 years ago, I just said, look, if you want to live in California, move there. But they are bringing California to us by way of letting California be the 800-pound gorilla in selecting U.S. presidents, by way of ensuring that there's a draconian echo of totalitarian rule long after Governor Spanberger's gone. Here we go, and this is the 215, the prevailing wage bill versus the vital records fee. I see the 15 seed here a lot like the 16 seed. It is, in the scheme of things, strong enough to have made the field, right? It's really sort of symbolic of what the Democrats have done. They're going to up the fee to get a death certificate or other vital records by like 40%. All while campaigning on affordability. And so I think that your vital records fee punches above its weight, because it shows, and I don't even think that's counted in the over 50 new taxes they proposed, right? No, they're going to say it's not a tax, it's a fee. And it's a 40% jump for things that you got to have to get through life. Tragically, you've lost a loved one, you need a death certificate. Well, we're going to need more of your money. But prevailing wage, wow, strong 2 seed. If the voters understand it, what we got is not the markets saying how much someone's going to get paid, but some pointy-headed bureaucrat with a degree from a fancy university. And frankly, sometimes if you're not educated enough, you just can't be as stupid as some of these people are, right? So here's what you have to pay for what, not letting the market determine it. It's going to apply as it relates to local governments, et cetera. And so ultimately, you're going to see your local taxes go up by virtue of somebody in the Virginia House Democrat ROVA caucus saying, yeah, we don't like the way the market works, so we're going to substitute our infinite wisdom. Always dangerous to mess around with Adam Smith. I think the 2 over the 15 here, but the 15 is a strong contender for an upset because it really does exemplify the, hey, we're running on affordability, but we need 40% more of your money. Senator Stanley, to you.
Look at who the players are, Fagans and Willett. Nice guys, get along with them well enough. Rodney Willett usually is not a social issue kind of guy all the time, but he's got the vital records fee, which taxes you at birth, taxes you at death, taxes you while you live. So that by itself just demonstrates where they're willing to go and what they're willing to do to order to raise taxes, raise funds to spend on their special projects. So what you do is you look at this one, vital records fee, not just who's the coach, but you also look at the lasting effects. I think that's going to have some real effect here, especially as people pick these brackets out. This may be an upset, but prevailing wage, socialism is cool. That's what this says. Let the government determine the wage, not the marketplace, as you said. Free markets, schmee markets. It's prevailing wage based on, as you said, some pointy-headed weirdo who determines what your value is worth, not in the private sector. I'm going to go with you on this one. Number 2, prevailing wage is going to win this, but it's a squeaker. It's going to be an overtime.
It is incredible, folks. Thank you so much for joining us for this 1/4 of March Badness, the House ROVA Democrats' crazy bad
3 more
ideas.
to go.
Senator Stanley, before we close, though, who comes out of this bracket to the Final Four? Who is the creme de la creme on Stanley's steamer time? Who is the bill emerging from this bracket competing for the golden turd?
You know, Tom, they all suck really bad. And that's what makes this pick so hard to get to this part of the bracket into the Final Four and then the championship rounds. I'm going to have to go with, firearm storage is pretty bad. Mattress tax is pretty bad. I don't know that I can pick one yet. This is going to be a bar fight. This is going to be bloody messy, and somebody's going to have to pull out a mop and clean it all up and make that decision when the smoke clears. We're going to find. But you've got a lot of equally weighted bad bills here. I think you're going to find this is going to be a real dogfight coming out of the House ROVA bracket.
I'll tell you what, Senator Stanley, I agree with you on not knowing where this is going to go. I think if the VCDL and the Second Amendment crowd sort of really get into March Badness, as certainly they should, that you got things like firearm storage on here, that's going to get people fired up. You got that losing in the first round. Paid sick leave is the one that's going to take the most money out of your wallet. That's why I got the 1 seed. And it's going to allow freeloaders, people who work for 30 days, to take 12 weeks of paid vacation because they hit a squirrel on the way to work. You got that one losing in the first round. And then you got the right to contraception. I mean, if the pro-life movement watches March Badness like they should, that is so bad. Just with the draconian Orwellian redefining of words, etc. It's such a strong bracket. I don't know. I guess I'm going to go with paid sick leave, but that just, it could really shift depending upon where the game is played. Folks, you're going to have to tune in. Each one of these bills is going to be debated either by a member of the House, a member of the Senate, or a guest debater. I think I mentioned in the last segment, we're going to have Caleb from the Mower Store debating the leaf blower ban, and some other special guests. And you're going to get to vote. So tune in, share this with your friends, tell your friends to vote, but not for these crazy people. We can't make this stuff up. 3 more conferences. Senator Stanley, wow. Are you ready to carry the ball on the Senate ROVA bad bills?
Listen, I'm ready. I've already had a really bad experience. I think I'm breaking out in a rash just going through these House bills, but it's really going to make me dizzy when we go through the Senate bills next.
We will see you all next time when we come back with Senator Stanley leading the charge on just how bad the ideas coming from non-Northern Virginia Democrat senators are. It only gets worse.